So
If you have a market Saturdays, somebody has.
I heard their fireworks are the best. I just heard that last week.
It's well, election. I think it's at least 20 years. Geez, we missed her. It's just up there. They have you can vote for the city, but it's all of them making all of that. But so we went that name, but it was a shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, right. No, it's always police. HOLD.
Yeah.
But I was so. Yeah. Stood by that. They got up early. Chairs by the sake.
Oh, yeah, we got a place.
And then we were outside. Which I was, that's all good. But I was not the part we was down. I was doing this. I don't know if this is a good idea, but yeah. That's true. This really should have. But the one thing is John gives a lot. He's sort of getting sparked.
Oh, yeah.
So I
reached out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
interesting.
What's that?
On New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
No, we're retiring New Year's Eve balance.
Williams and something like this show.
Yeah, I didn't go to it this year, but I haven't for a couple of years, but.
Okay. Thanks for that, Arms.
Yeah, it is usually.
Oh, yeah, it needed.
I'll call the July 7th City Council meeting to order.
Abby Hansen. Here. John Hopkins.
Yeah.
Megan McFarland. Here. Matt McKinney.
Here.
Logan Welch.
Here.
Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item 1 of petitions, communications and requests. This is the time of the meeting that a citizen may address the council on a matter not on the agenda, except in cases of emergency. The city council will not take any action at this meeting, but may ask city staff to research the matter or have the matter placed on the agenda for a future meeting. But I'll do the proclamation first. Marvin, if you want to come up. I have a proclamation honouring veteran Marvin Carr. Okay. Proclamation honouring veteran Marvin Carr, whereas the nation is deeply grateful to the men and women who have served in the United States Armed Forces, defending freedoms and securing peace globally, and whereas the unique sacrifices made by veterans and their families are recognised and appreciated, including long deployments, separation from loved ones, and challenges of transitioning back to civilian life. And whereas Marvin Carr has shown exceptional commitment to both military service and the field of education, and whereas he has been named the Military Friendly Veteran of the Year in the higher education category for the state of Iowa, and is now a finalist for the national title. Whereas in recognition of outstanding contributions and unwavering dedication, is it appropriate to support him for the national title. Now, therefore, I, John Hawkins, Mayor, on behalf of the City of Webster City, Iowa, support the nomination of Marvin Carr to be a military friendly veteran for the year 2025.
When is the national coming?
So it ended on July 4th.
Sure.
So they don't tell us who the winner is until September 11th.
Okay,
Oh.
well, good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Thank you for your service.
You can come up, Becky.
Peace and quiet, and you hear my flip flops are going. Okay, I'm Becky Holgraper. I live at 136 Apple Avenue, and I'm interested in the property at 128 Apple Avenue. We want to build a garage there, expand. And with our property the way it is, I'd have to take up my whole backyard in order to build a new garage. So we're really interested. And I also had questions about who does the mowing. Because they don't move any branches, they just mow around them. And last year they hit the sewer pipe that sticks up out of the yard over there and broke it. And there's never been anybody back over to do anything about that either.
To answer your first question, do we put her in touch with Ariel to talk about how to cure that?
Yes,
Okay.
both Ariel and I've spoke with Becky on a couple occasions.
Yeah.
So do you have a path then to?
If I just give a background, if or not,
You better get.
whatever you'd like.
Yeah, be the background on.
So the property in question is one of the houses that was just demolished. So we had acquired the property and demolished it. It is of a sizable lot. Ariel and I have not yet made a recommendation to the board on what to do with the property or how to dispose of it. The Holgrafers have inquired seriously about purchasing a portion of the property to
Or the whole thing.
or the whole thing to erect a garage on it. The home was just demolished a couple weeks ago. Last week, I did speak with Mrs. Holgrafer, and she did mention the sewer pipe matter as well as the limbs. We have not yet addressed them, but we will be attending to them in the next few weeks.
Okay, I know, I've been a pain in your behind, but I
Not at all.
I
Not at
don't
all.
know, so I keep calling and asking.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else have anything? Not on the agenda? Okay. Item 2 is consent agenda. The following items have been deemed non-controversial routine actions to be approved by the council as a single motion. If a council member or member of the audience wishes to have an item removed from this list, will be considered on its normal sequence on the agenda. I have item A, minutes of June 16. B is claims and the fund list. C is request from Wendy Clemens from American Tap to close the public parking lot in the South 500 block alley on August 23rd for the Angel Tree plus other entity fundraisers. And that's it.
Move to approve collectively.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, then we have 605, so public hearings to consider an amendment to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Webster City, Iowa, section 50-184 for off-street parking required. I'll open the hearing. Are there any written objections?
No.
Are there any oral objections? No. I'll close the hearing. Ariel, are you?
Evening, Mayor and council members. So staff is presenting for council's consideration the first reading of this ordinance. The reason that we are seeking to amend this ordinance is to modernize off-street parking requirements, and also it allows more of an enforcement action when we are looking to nuisances for illegally parked vehicles. So we are looking to update this so that it does require that concrete be used for parking material or parking. I cannot think of my word right now.
Concrete rest.
Yes, thank you. So that there is consistency in our ordinance and also in our enforcement for nuisances. So right now we're seeing a lot of individuals who are placing gravel around their tires of their campers or just placing pavers under the tire to meet the requirement of an approved pad. So we're just trying to find a way to better enforce our nuisances and make sure that our neighborhoods are still sightly and property values aren't being affected or any front yard isn't being taken up by multiple vehicle parking. We don't want to completely eliminate the multiple vehicle parking or the RVs, because obviously we are a recreation community that we are very much fortunate for, but we want to make sure that we're able to enforce our code effectively.
I think just to follow up on Ariel's description, specifically what prompted the consideration of this ordinance was, as she described, as we were enforcing off-street parking violations, the police encountered, I think, more than one circumstance where, the ordinance says must be on a gravel or some type of surface, but can't recite the existing language now. And so people have just sort of either spread gravel around for tires or put pavers under them. In another circumstance, and I'll just speak directly about it, immediately south of O'Reilly Auto Park, there are 3 cars parked there that's been, we've received complaints on several times. If you go and examine it, the parking stall closest to the road, you could make a reasonable assessment that it is graveled. The parking stall in the middle has a lot less gravel and is sort of weeded. The one towards the end, I would say, is probably on grass. Now, in this particular circumstance, that individual could re-gravel that because they'll be covered by the existing code and continue to do that. But those are the interpretation matters that I believe the nuisance team and the police are running into as they're out and about. As you're aware, we are receiving increased complaints, or have already just had sustained complaints on off-street parking, people parking in areas that are not allowed by the code. And as we're digging in and enforcing it, these are the situations we're running into. Just to provide additional background on how the matter came before you.
Correct. And I want to reiterate what John said. Anybody who currently has a gravel driveway is going to be legal non-conforming. So they can maintain that. They can lay more gravel down. They can come in with a roller and maintain it. It just wouldn't allow for new gravel driveways to be.
This, with this guy with 3, he shouldn't be allowed to have 3 then. You know, if he goes in and puts a 3rd, why would he be allowed to have 3? Because in other words, so what you're saying then is that if someone goes out tomorrow and puts another piece in, they can legally have that.
So our the next ordinance before you will actually cover that as well, but just to give you, excitement up to that ordinance, we are looking to also make sure that we are enforcing the width of driveways and the number of stalls that are allowed.
Yeah, I thought that was something. I think the beauty of having have a proper hard stand is that with the trouble with the gravel is if you let it go to grass, then eventually you can't tell the difference.
Exactly.
So then that makes it hard for the police to do their job.
So you're saying everything in existence right now is fine,
Yes.
as is. So even some of these people that are violating it, that we're having a hard time, giving them, direction or enforcing the ordinance, they would still be able to.
So they'd be able to have the gravel. We've just been having more of a communication with them. So when the officers are going out or when they're contacting my office, Brian Stroner has been helping with nuisances. Derek also has been, and I've been handling them as well. We're just encouraging them and communicating with them. Please maintain what you already have existing. Make sure that you're taking care of the weeds that are growing through. Make sure you're laying more gravel down to maintain what you have so that it isn't a hard observation if it's gravel or if it's grass.
So
while I have not done the specific inspections, my assessment of how it's being enforced is fairly generous to somebody who previously would claim that there was gravel there, even though it may not.
Yeah,
It may be a coin flip on whether it was or not. I think our staff has been fairly generous with saying, okay, it appears there might have been a pad there and you can do it. If that answers one of the questions.
a couple more questions. Oh, sorry.
Nope.
But these are quick, but they're more hypothetical. So, for instance, so what we're saying is, say the woman who just, showed interest in buying a piece of our, property we, acquired, and build a garage, she would have to then pour concrete to access that garage, right? And then, in my neighborhood, there's been several people that have, added on that kind of trapezoidal, gravel outshoot thingy from the driveway to park campers, or a child's gotten older and to get another car and they don't look bad, So I guess that would be out then too, right? It'd have to be.
It would be, and again, leading up to the next ordinance, that's something that we're addressing in that ordinance as well, that it would have to be to the property line towards the house rather than out. Is that correct, Eric? Towards the house rather than out to the next door neighbor's property, and it would have to be that jolted piece would have to be concrete as well.
So you're saying it would have to go towards
their own property
right,
rather
into it instead of up to the. I got you. Okay.
That'd be,
or opposite
it'd have to go towards the property line.
property line.
Oh, sorry.
Towards the property line, so.
Not.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
I have a few questions. So like, let's say the house has gravel and they're grandfathered in. Let's say they move and then somebody buys that house. Are they still grandfathered in? Is the house grandfathered in?
Yes, the property would be still legal, non-conforming.
Okay. And then when did the code go into effect to allow gravel?
Probably forever. I presume it's been.
What if
And I
Because
think
I went
that
on the
was,
code and it doesn't say on like our municipal what days they were.
yeah, yeah.
What did he say?
And might have an answer for it.
So I know it's been something that's been ongoing for a while. I can't speak to a specific date. However, we've just seen more and more gravel and those gravel pads getting larger and just accommodating more vehicles. I think it was, the intention was good when we adopted the gravel, but I think that it's just the enforcement along the years has just been so lax that now that we're trying to rein it back in.
I also have, I've had quite a few residents bring to my attention that, cement is very expensive and gravel is cheaper and easier to get. And express their concern that they don't agree with this, and I agree. I think that there could be, maybe, is there a different way we could enforce that the gravel be better? Like, can we give nuisances if they are letting it go instead of just not letting them have gravel?
A couple thoughts there. Don't necessarily know that we've wrestled with the specific issue of an unmaintained gravel parking surface. So that would be something I'd want to talk with Ariel and Derek and Chief Hansen about to determine what scenarios they've had. Likely it would be a weed nuisance, right? That's over 6 inches. In other implementations of attempting to satisfy that particular question about the expenses, you may require some type of perimeter to be erected. Think of a timber, think of edging, think of something that's very delineated that contains the gravel. That has been deployed in various codes.
Yeah, like what type of gravel it could be.
It'd be more about the perimeter and containing it.
And that's some of the nice ones I've seen. They've taken the time to put a true edge on it, maybe even a partial, like a 12-inch retaining wall almost, to keep the gravel contained and to grade up the deal. Like I kind of like where you're going. So like if we were to allow gravel, what if it was like some type of permit they had to pull and they had to show they're putting in 8 inches of gravel and they have some type of retainment wall to keep the gravel from going into the neighbor's property or whatever, I mean, what if it's a permit process so they're doing it to the way we would want to see it instead of just on the back end, we're trying to get around enforcement issues. You know what I'm saying? Because again, these are only new ones coming up. So if you want to put one in, you got to come and get a permit. If you want to use gravel, well, you got to get it for cement anyway, right? Because you have to have a plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you, but when you're with the right of way part of it, if you don't concrete the right of way piece, then you end up with half the gravel down the driveway, down the road. And we had this last weekend.
Yeah.
Most of the gravel places in town ended up in the streets because of the amount of rain we had. So I mean, do we have where you've still got to do the driveway piece? Because if you start doing they're doing the parking.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. The entrance, to avoid that, you'd want to, in those new circumstances, require that. And then the driveway piece, I think you correctly pointed out, that's much different than just a parking surface for a boat or RV or a camper. But Ariel, Derek, PD, if you've got, they're inquiring on the implementation of that type of idea. So
yeah, I mean, it's something we could definitely look into where we just have the approach be gravel so that it's not washing into the street and into the storm sewer.
Cement.
And then
cement,
and then the actual driveway portion being gravel and bordered in. We can definitely look into that.
Again, that might kind of bridge that gap. And again, if it's a permitting process anyway, that, you know, that way you guys can have some say in what this looks like or what this is built up to. You know, because again, it's one thing just to throw a couple bags of gravel down and call it good. It's another thing to build an actual parking space to a permitted, I guess, expectation. So I don't know, because again, I would hate for people to have to accrue that cost in concrete, because you're right, it's concrete work is getting insane, and yeah, I just.
So do we want to pass this until next meeting and come more clarity, or do we want to put a piece in there that says something?
So this is just first reading, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And would we allow that then in new developments as well, then like out in, I don't know, Links edition or Links
I think if you're
development?
building a new,
Yeah.
you're building a new house.
New, it has to be.
Yeah, I think, good point.
You're spending that sort of money, you should be putting.
But again, if someone bought that house in the future, they could then do it, right? Because it's their property, right? And then they say they bought the house, they wanted to add a third parking spot for a boat, they could then, in theory, add that spot.
I believe we can, Zach, you can. Well, it wouldn't be zoning districts, might be some overlay districts on, we could create some overlay districts on what would be allowed and what wouldn't. So forgive me, but what I'll refer to as old town, perhaps that'd be an overlay where it's permitted, and the newer developed areas would be overlaid where it would not be.
Most of those newer developments have restricted covenants anyway.
Oh, for sure.
That's what I'm.
Yeah.
You're already there.
Yep. Good point. No, if council's comfortable with that, I'm liking that small tweak.
Yeah.
Really.
So what open to what
You want to pass the
Exactly
first
like you
reading
do.
with allowing gravel in the parking area?
Before the second read.
Yeah.
would you like us to take it back to the planning commission? It did originate there. They can deliberate sort of the
No,
direction
because
it's given.
that'll take, if you would get this thing done, that's gonna take.
Okay.
a month.
Well, when is their next meeting?
Next week, right?
Is it? Well, you got time to do
Might
it
as well,
before it comes back.
I
guess.
think so then.
Is that something you'd like to do?
Yeah, might as well. And then, I think this will hit the paper and the radio, and maybe some people can come with some more input that we're not even hearing.
It was the thought to pass it as is for the first reading, or are you gonna make that? Prefer not to make changes to it at this point.
Yeah,
Until
that's what we'll do.
So do we table it or do you?
We'll just
No.
table it.
Push it, you saying put it back to the committee?
Well, it's a public,
You can go through third.
we gotta
three
reset the
readings,
public
sides.
hearing then, if we don't, something now.
No, your public hearing is tonight. You should probably pass the first reading. We'll make the edits before you take up the second reading.
I got you.
Because we understand
That's
where
what I'm
the
thinking.
consensus is, so we'll just take it from there. Yep.
Okay.
You comfortable with that?
I think so.
Because if you're not by the next reading, you drop it
Yeah,
then.
yeah, that's okay. That's what I thought.
No, I think that's a good
So
workaround.
call for a motion to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Webster City, Iowa, 2019 by amending amending section 50-184 to update off-street parking material requirements within the corporate limits of the city of Webster City, Iowa.
Move to approve.
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing to consider the amendment to the Code of Ordinances of the Webster City, Iowa, 2019, Chapter 42, Article 7, Controls Access Facilities. I'll open the hearing. Are there any written objections?
No.
Are there any oral objections? No, I'll close the hearing. This is the one with the access.
This is the exciting one. Okay, so this would be back to the points of the width of the driveways and also the entrance of the driveways. So we were looking for the amendment due to just again better enforcement, clearer code. So right now we don't have where it states that there can only be one driveway. We've seen where we have all of a sudden had two driveways installed, which we don't have anything that's preventing that. However, that driveway isn't leading to anything. It's just kind of a parking surface again. So that's where the concrete came in. But that would also tie into the previous ordinance, where we would look at having the entrance be, or the approach be concrete, and then the gravel be the drive with the the border. Again, we are just trying to make sure that we are following SUDAS, which we've adopted, and modernized our code and making sure that our planning standards are the same. We want to make sure that we're reducing confusion for our staff, the community, and developers, and just really making sure that there's a clearer enforcement procedure ahead of us. So the biggest things that we have been proposing are, again, to have the one driveway extension where it would come off of the current driveway and it would have to be on the property line or towards the property line rather than having just random gravel throughout the yard to allow for additional parking. We're making sure that the drainage and construction standards are clearer for the grade and excavation practices, and then just making sure that our permit process is more detailed and requiring traffic analysis on larger scale developments.
A question on that? Our first reading of an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Webster City, Iowa, 2019 by amending Chapter 42 to delete Article 7 pertaining to controlled access facilities within corporate limits of the City of Webster City, Iowa, and replacing it with the amended section.
I have one question before we move past, and it's just clarification. So say, like, for instance, the house Ed Sadler used to live in,
Okay.
right?
Street.
There's a drive, no, Des Moines and Elm.
Yeah.
Is this by the middle
Oh,
school?
okay. Yeah.
It's like a drive.
Yeah.
Is that allowed? That's because I didn't read that anywhere. I'm just saying, like, if someone buys a corner lot and they want to have that art style, I'm just saying, like, that might be a issue, might not. It's probably going to be only for new developments anyways. That's just like the one kind of outlier
Mhm.
asterisk I can think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still think this is a good thing. We should pass it up. Just think about that,
Yeah.
back at it.
It's there, but that one's obviously grandfathered in. But
Right, no,
But
right,
it's there can't be too many houses in town that
I was gonna
actually.
think that's the only one I can.
Yeah,
get.
Billy.
Well, I lied, there is one on White Post,
Edition.
there's one.
Yeah.
Same thing, corner lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
This is more, so.
The only way it makes sense is if it is on a corner lot, otherwise.
Yeah. Or do you just
Or it's a
back out?
massive yard, we make this big move.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer it now. I'm just saying,
No,
like,
you're-
that's the only asterisk that's stuck out.
I would say that's a
Yeah.
Rare occurrence.
something that we'd have to look into, yeah, but,
They could probably ask for a variance. If they really wanted that, right?
Yeah.
And we could allow what, like, as come needed.
Yeah.
basis.
Yeah, that is one.
Yeah.
yeah.
Not very often.
Just clarification, we're gonna make the edits on this one as well for the driveway, the gravel and stuff.
Cool. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
ideally.
just so we're on the same page. Got it.
And this is for residential. This might be a stupid question, but like Riverview has that. And it would be fine for them, right?
Yeah.
Since it's like a business.
What do they
Yeah,
have?
we're all.
They have the round.
Yeah,
that's
commercial would be different.
Yeah, we're only
different. Okay,
addressing-
we're only doing residential. Okay, just
Yeah,
wanted to make sure.
For commercial and industrial, they just have to align with SUDAS, that's it,
Okay,
so.
I just wanted to
Get in
make sure.
Parking stalls and all that stuff, yeah.
okay.
I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Nice. C is a third
Thank
reading
you,
of an
Ariel.
ordinance, amending Code of Ordinances of Webster City, Iowa, 2019, amending section 118 of chapter 50 pertaining to solar energy systems within the corporate limits of the City of Webster City, Iowa.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the third reading, the highlighted portion on, I think about the third or fourth page of this ordinance is the area of change. It refers to interconnection standards that must be entered into between a customer and the City of Webster City that is utilizing what I would refer to as alternative energy sources. At our last meeting, we did discuss the need for a copy of those interconnection standards to be included. They are attached to the ordinance. I can stand for any questions that you might have. It is just in our research. We do have no record of actually the interconnection standards being adopted previously, except for some of the application processes to some of the various different boards. So this is actually just a new adoption of the interconnection standards as well.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Call for motion to pass and adopt the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item D is the third reading of an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of Webster City, Iowa, 2019 by replacing chapter 48, Article 2, Division 2, Section 48-56, establishing new rates to be charged for electrical energy sold by the City of Webster City, Iowa.
Good evening.
Oh,
So I just had a few highlights of this ordinance change. So this does call for a 3% increase across all rates, all classes, effective August 1 of 2025. Beginning August 1, 2026, the ordinance would return to what it is now, 1% annual on just the energy. This one-time increase is to offset the 2.3% increase in purchase power. And this will be the first electric base increase since 2017. There is a chart that's included with the agenda statement showing what this ordinance change would affect different usages. When I did a search, I found the range to be like $1.76 a month for an apartment and $7.11 a month for a large home with a large family. And that would be like this time of year when you have heavy, when it's hot, you have a lot of air on. So that's the main highlights, I guess. I don't know if John wanted to add anything.
I have nothing for the council at this time unless you have a question. Thank you.
No.
All right, thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, call for a motion on the third reading.
Move to approve.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Call for a motion to pass and adopt the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item E is a second reading of an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Webster City, Iowa, 2019 by amending section 411, chapter 46 pertaining to parking within corporate limits of the City of Webster City, Iowa.
Yes,
Thank you. Do you have a copy of this one?
not with me.
Do you want me to hit this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly what last one.
So this is all, so in your code of ordinances, we talked about this last time too. When they did the codification in 2019, they took out any reference to an actual fine amount and just directed them to the fee resolution that you guys pass annually. For some reason, this one didn't get caught and or changed at that time, and it just recently came up because of when the officers are writing tickets, what they're seeing in the code versus what they're seeing, what they're having in the fee resolution wasn't matching. So all this is doing is changing the code to then direct you to as established by resolution of the city council, just like all the rest of them. So if you would be so obliged, you can also waive the third and we can get going on this. So
yeah,
I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Call for motion to approve the third reading.
Second, or
Waive.
move to approve. To waive
Waive the third reading.
the third reading.
Yeah. All right, waive. Okay.
I second.
To approve the third reading. All right, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Call for motion to pass and adopt the ordinance. All
Second.
those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item F is the first reading of an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of Webster City, Iowa, 2019 by adding Article, what's that one? 14 to Chapter 42 entitled Trick or Treating within corporate limits of the City of Webster City, Iowa. This is a lot.
This is me. So this is just an ordinance that we're looking to put into place, similar to
fireworks.
Fireworks, yes. So, if Halloween falls on a Friday, we're looking to have trick or treating, residential trick or treating on that date from 5:30 to 8. If October 31st of any other year falls on a Saturday or on any other date, it would be the last Saturday of the month. Also from 5:30 to 8. So this is a little bit of a change because right now we don't have this in an ordinance. We adopted it by resolution a couple years ago, just stating that it would be on the last Saturday of the month. With conversation with the chamber, it was found that, sometimes doesn't work to have the downtown trick or treating and the residential trick or treating the same night. So we're just looking to set the standard for the residential. And then the chamber and the downtown businesses can set their downtown trick or treating when they feel is best for them. So.
Yeah.
So the only really change from the year or two ago when we talked about this is the potential of it landing on a Friday.
Yes,
Yeah. And then it would be on a Friday.
which is this year.
This year is, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, that might cause some confusion, but. You know, because I've already had it in my head, okay, it's last Saturday, right?
Yeah.
But
We will make sure that we advertise.
blast it out there, okay.
7 years or so.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll get it right. Cool.
I mean, you guys are usually your.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'd hate to be that guy on the block that, you know. Friday night, you get the memo. And you're that one guy, you know. Comes tomorrow.
And your light just happens to be on.
Yeah, right. That's. I think it's a good idea. I appreciate it. And I move to approve.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item G is the first reading of an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of Webster City, Iowa 2019 by amending chapter 46, article 3, division 2, section 46-113 pertaining to special 45-mile-per-hour speed zones. Derek got this one.
Good evening. So as part of the 26 HMA project, Siren Associates reviewed that road, and as part of the DOT requirements, the shoulder is required to be so wide in a 55-mile-an-hour zone. The shoulders there are too narrow, so Siren Associates recommended the traffic committee to review it. And the traffic committee agreed with Siren Associates and is recommending you to lower the speed limit on Clark Mollenhoff from East Second Street to 1,300 feet north of East Second Street down to a 45-mile-an-hour zone,
Where's Clark Mollenhoff Drive?
going by task
That's
list.
the task.
Oh, that's what.
So it's basically the very far east side of town on East Second.
Yep, so if you go from East Second Street to pretty much city limits, it's kind of confusing right there because the city limits only covers up to the 1,300 feet. It's both lanes, and then after that going north, it is just the southbound lanes.
So it'd go. Like, where does the 45-mile-an-hour start?
When you turn off of Second Street,
Off of Second Street.
Okay.
right? Yeah,
Right, when you're
turning
turning
off and heading
towards
north,
Tasslers.
Okay,
45 until 1,300 feet, and then it'll go to 55.
okay.
Right now, it's 55 the whole way
But where's that start? The 55 start?
on Second, right when you turn off.
Okay. No, I mean, like, so it goes from like 35, 25 to 35 to
1,300
40.
feet, I go to 55.
Right now, though, they're saying, right now,
Currently, it's right when you turn off, it goes straight to 55.
Yeah.
So
right when you turn off.
And it'll be 1,300 feet down the road.
You're not on Second, you're on Clark Mollenhoff.
Got it.
When you turn left there, coming off, so you go by the grid, well, to get up to past Mary Annville, and you turn left there to go to Tasslers.
North.
That's going north, that's 55 directly off the Second.
So going past the gridiron, what's that mile, what's that speed limit?
Like 35,
30.
35, I think.
35, isn't it?
35.
I think
Okay.
it's 50.
No, sounds good. Just get my bearings.
Yeah, you're not on Second Street at that point. You're already turning at that point.
I was thinking once you hit.
Okay.
Motion.
I've made that mistake.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
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 Thanks, Derek.
Thank
Item
you.
H is a Hamilton County Fair Funding Special Request for 10,000 for the 2025 year of the hotel motel tax funds.
This is a follow-up to the request by the Fair Board at our last meeting to add a special designation within the ordinance allocating the hotel motel funds of $10,000 annually to the Hamilton County Exposition, Inc., what we would know as the Hamilton County Fair. Mrs. Wolfgram prepared a background on prior awards that have been given to the fairs in the background discussion. I will just briefly give an overview here. In 2008, $25,000 award was for grandstand and the bleacher to replace 3 old sections of the wood bleacher seating with aluminum. In 2009, $15,000 for conference center equipment. In 2015, $10,000 for restoration of the 1919 pavilion. In 2017, $10,000 for a Grand River rodeo. In 2019, $5,000 award for the 2020 fair, and then $100,000 was allocated It was an addition to the existing Hamilton County Event Center located at the fairgrounds, which is up and running and part of the fair at this point in time. Just to review, Jamie Griffith, director of the fair, and Zach Williams, the president of the fair board, requested a $10,000 annual designation for the fair be made through ordinance similar to other areas you've designated, with the remainder moving through the granting process. We do have a member of the hotel motel board here. If you have any questions for them, they did discuss it. Do not believe they had any concerns that were brought to my attention.
I think, yeah, I'm representing the board, John Marvel, and I think that we are in agreement that this is a good use of hotel motel monies and it serves a purpose. I think what we would like though is an annual, you know, and in the annual report of the fair to, you know, provide an accounting of what the money is used for.
I want to apologize. There's actually two actions here. First is making the funding request for this year. That's the item we're on, just because of the timing of when the ordinance will be in effect. And then the second is actually the first reading of this ordinance. My apologies.
And to answer John's question, it is in the ordinance that they provide an annual report, a lot, just like the chamber does. So,
Perfect.
Our fiscal year ends in, you know, we're October to October, so at our annual meeting, we always have that available, so we'll make sure you get a copy of it.
Perfect.
Well, whatever you can report of this.
Yeah, you'll have to come here, Zach. To
We do that.
Do we need Daddy?
Right.
Thank you, Daddy. Call for a motion.
Move to approve.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Then I have a first reading of an ordinance repealing the Code of Ordinances of Webster City, Iowa, 2019 by amending Chapter 20, Article 3 pertaining to hotel motel tax. So just the first reading. Change that 10,000.
So
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then item J is a resolution accepting a deduction to the construction contract with Beckstrom Construction and closing out the 2022 electrical underground conversion project.
Yep, Mayor and Council, as you're aware, during last budget season, you appropriated funds to underground an area of the community in the northeast section of Webster City. That work is complete. There is a deduct on the contract. We are requesting a closeout of this project. And I can answer any questions you might have.
Full promotion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item I is a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign and execute a change order number 3, partial payment application number 8.
You missed K.
Awarding a professional services agreement for the riser substation testing to electrical power systems for Voltex of Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is one of the last, I believe, bid packages we'll have for Reisner, if not the last, hopefully. This is to test the system after it's installed. We did receive favorable bid rewards. The estimate was, I think, $134,000. It came in at $88,555. So we do recommend awarding that project to Electric Power Systems in that amount.
And we only pay 27,000.
Correct. And of that amount, we only pay 27,000.
It's good.
Full promotion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right, well, now we'll do I. Resolution authorizing the city manager to sign and execute change order number 3 and partial payment application number 8, final recommended project acceptance for the Fair Meadow Drive reconstruction project.
Evening, Mayor and Council, kind of here wearing 2 hats tonight, but this is the Fair Meadow project that happened between Des Moines and Superior Street. That was closed out last fall. This is the remaining part of the project that the council wanted to see happen, where we did the sidewalk from Superior to the Greenway Apartments, I believe is the name of it. So that's been completed. There's been a deduction to that bottom line price of 2,200 that came in under for seating. So yeah, that's been complete and looks really nice. So, and city staff did continue there was like another 20 feet of sidewalk that we poured at the beginning of the season that is also complete, so.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Call for motion.
So move.
Second.
All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Item M is a resolution approving the development agreement between the City of Webster City and Lotus Community Project.
I can go to the podium here and talk about this a little bit. Down there.
You can sit down.
I mean, you don't have to.
Well, downtown requires a standing, doesn't it? I
guess.
So, there'll be a lot of questions. All right, Mayor and Council, thank you. This is a idea. And it's sort of a new idea. It might be an idea you like, it might be an idea you don't like. So I think some of the consideration of the subject is going to be sort of your feeling about this type of an agreement and how it fits into sort of the whole puzzle piece of what we're hoping to achieve in the downtown area, which I believe we can just sort of summarize that as a vibrant retail and housing district that represents Webster City for all we know and love it to be. I'm going to talk about the specifics here on the development agreement. I'd like to answer any questions you have, and then I'd like to just sort of talk about what is quickly becoming a patchwork of approaches to the issues that we're facing downtown. So the specific development agreement and how it sort of came to be is, as you know, there was a winter storm, siding blew off of the Lotus building. Upon observation, there was structural issues that needed to be examined before a permit was granted to resite it. And so we began working with this nonprofit agency who does operate and own a thrift store in our downtown area. As the memo said, recognizing the immediate safety concerns, City and Lotus engaged in discussions to identify a path forward. Lotus has shown a strong willingness to work in partnership with the city to address both safety hazard and long-term redevelopment needs. The key provisions of the agreement is that it's sort of structured as a deferred loan. And so what the city is essentially saying is that we will become the key sort of overseer of the project with the intent of remodeling the upstairs to allow for low to moderate income housing. That is key, and I'll come back to that. They will be participating with the $17,000 of proceeds that they receive for insurance following the damage. It is a deferred payment, so it's what we would call a forgivable loan. No payments are due till the property is sold, at which Lotus will repay either the lesser of the net proceeds or the outstanding loan balance. Now I'll talk about that. We also have the first right of refusal to match any purchase offer. And then a loan forgiveness clause that allows $20,000 to be forgiven annually on the anniversary of the certificate of occupancy, provided Lotus retains ownership. So here's what we don't have. We don't have a budget for it yet. And that's why it's sort of being presented for as an idea. We can certainly bring it back in a subsequent meeting if you want to just give feedback on sort of this overall approach. With Lotus specifically, the reason that we're comfortable moving forward is that we do have a pool of funds that has accumulated to roughly a $500,000 balance that's referred to as low to moderate income funding. That low to moderate income funding is generated from tax increment financing districts that support housing in the community. State statute requires that a certain percent in Hamilton County and in Webster City, I believe it's roughly 46% of those proceeds from the TIF district be deposited into the LMI fund. Remember, we talked about that a little bit when we had the Katy development. That's why it had to go so long because so much of those proceeds are directed by the state to the low to moderate income fund. And so we approached Lotus. We said, hey, we've got some serious issues here with the structural report. We've actually had to brace the upstairs. I believe there's been some roof work that's been completed on the issue or the building. And as you can see driving by, there's a large crack in the outside wall that I believe goes through the building. Is that correct? So we said, we don't, these are issues that we're aware of. Where are you guys at in the process? Here's an idea. Would you consider designating a couple of living units to low to moderate income if we can apply these funds to it? They said yes. In discussions with the nonprofit, they're not really in a position to take a lead on managing a project of that nature. And so, we offered our assistance to move through that process as well. That's sort of what this lays out. Essentially, the loan would be amount of these improvements, and then it would be forgiven over the period of 20 years over time. As I mentioned earlier, we don't have a budget for it yet, but that is an approach. So it's a forgivable loan. The closest I believe that we've come to a forgivable loan would be working with Lyft at the 608 building, where we matched the state catalyst grant with $100,000. And we said, we're going to defer payment and collection of that loan until the building is sold. If we can get that much back, we also have a first right of refusal on the property. So now I'm going to go back to somewhat of the patchwork quilt that I discussed earlier about our approach in the downtown area as we just continue to see additional buildings face structural issues. Prior to my arrival, I know that the city engaged in a couple of demolition projects, maybe close to Morning Glory, and then also I believe it was an old bakery building where I refer to it as the Gorley building is at. So those were projects where I believe prior councils may have determined to step in and demolish structures. Other opportunities have arisen to partner with nonprofits like Lyft. We've coordinated grants, we've applied CDBG funding, we've worked with the state to get catalyst grants for buildings like the Up building, buildings like 608, which was next to the theater after the fire. We've taken enforcement actions. We're in court with one or two property owners down there where, hey, we see some things that aren't going on. We need to rectify them. We've provided them notice, they haven't acted. And then we've moved into the court system to resolve those. So that's sort of a private, place where we haven't partnered financially, but we're enforcing codes. And now we have what I would say 4 remaining, or 3 at least. We've got the Hubbard building, we've got Lotus, we've got Mr. McNeil's building, and he is here tonight. Thank you for being here, Chris. And so as staff, we don't have a rifle shot here. I wish I could come to you and say, this building, X solution. We're sort of approaching it, and that is, I think of it as sort of tools in a toolkit, where we assess the situation, what pots of money are available, what groups are interested in the building, and we either see, can we partner, or do we have to take ownership in case of the Coulter building? We really haven't considered demolition since I've arrived. I suspect that we'll be talking about that later this month when the other folks from the state come forward. And so that's how I present this development agreement. It's an opportunity to utilize funding that's directed towards low, moderate income to restore a building that you may have interest in preserving. It also continues to partner with a nonprofit in the area that has an open storefront. It is on a corner that is occupied by several events throughout the year, market nights, junk fest, and as brought to my attention by the wise Bob Oliver earlier and today, it is not outside of the realm of actions that the council has taken in regards to housing, whether that be developing Brewer Creek in several phases over several time, whether it be partnering with Katie or the Links development. So this is a space that you've entered in terms of partnerships. Certainly a lot of questions remain, and so this is an idea. We've had discussions, they're open to it. And I'm certainly ready and interested in your thoughts on this approach and maybe how we continue to sift through the other issues that are taking place downtown.
Yeah, I mean, it's, although, it may be similar to some things we've done in the past, it's really not. This is kind of new, but, and I kind of like doing things and trying them, especially on a smaller scale like this. I mean, relatively smaller scale. That building houses a charity, so it's not like just an inhabited building. We got to figure out what we're gonna do with it. So no, I appreciate you coming to this with this. I mean, it's a unique approach, at least compared to my experiences, and I'm open to entertaining it.
Me too.
The thoughts I had on it earlier was, one is the city's, anytime the government's doing anything, it costs us a lot more money than somebody outside's doing.
Yep.
And of course, so that it's at this stage, it's an open-ended, maybe the 500,000 isn't enough.
Right.
Which means it spent way too much money on it.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth doing this. But, and of course, the biggest problem is that, you never get anything back in taxes on it because it's a non-profit. So, it's not going to help the tax base at all. But that's not that. But of course, we're using money that we've never been able to use for anything else.
Yeah.
And so that's the part of this that does work. I would recommend that if Lyft can be enough some help in there to maybe do some contracting in there, so you guys aren't getting ripped off by people. And
yep. So we would love to work with Lyft in given the work that you've completed in other buildings downtown to utilize your knowledge of the markets for construction and reconstruction, and bring you along as maybe like I don't want to say general, but some type of project manager, perhaps is the term that I would use. That would definitely be able to leverage the private relationship. So we're open to that. We don't have any ownership and manage the project. I'm sure a couple staff members behind me are maybe even happy about that. But yeah, we'd love to, if that's the council's desire, we'd be happy to work with you on that. Of course, there are other ways you could spend your low to moderate income housing funds, and but this is one that came up and we thought, well, might work. There's other buildings you could spend it on.
There's not many though that gets this one. This one ticks most of the boxes for you. So,
right.
If we're trying to give it to private enterprise, then it doesn't work as well unless they're going to put low to moderate income people in it. So.
Yeah,
and the apartments.
Yep.
And so.
And of course, we've since I've been on council, that we had 400 something thousand when I got on in the LMI fund, and we've hardly spent anything, and it's gone up to 500,000 since I've been here. And with the catering development, it's going to have another $1 million coming to it in the next 3 years. So
right, yeah,
so you might want to spend some if you can. So
and we've tried to use that. I remember working with Midas in the past with grants and upkeep of homes, and it just haven't been very well adopted or utilized. And it's always these little chunks, and a lot of paperwork for a little chunk. I hope that's still there, and if people need that, we still have that opportunity.
We still have anybody that's out there that meets the LMI and owns their own home and needs work done on their house, roof, whatever. We have funds for that. The only thing you have to be is you have to be up on your payments of your house.
Right.
And pretty well other than that.
$500,000 is if someone has something wrong with their house and they're a low income family and they have to
come
to the council and say, hey,
You don't have to
They
come to
don't
us.
have to come to us, they can go see Ariel and.
Yeah, it's basically an application process.
No.
Yeah, and
No,
that's a good point, sir, because we've tried to advertise this, we've tried to let people know this
We've done it.
program. And
Yeah.
and
Tried
they
to give it away and never been able to success.
sometimes it's they're too proud, right? They don't want to take a handout, but other times I think just they don't
It's a
understand
bit-
the simplicity of it. And
That's a forgivable loan system.
Yeah. so yeah, if you know anybody out there that could use that, please send them our way and just go down to City Hall. You don't have to come from a
I've never really been to a city council meeting before, so I don't know how this works, but if I could put an input on the Lotus thing. Lotus does a lot of really incredible things. I used to work at the Roundhouse here in town. And Lotus, their main point is to help women get out of bad situations. And it would be incredible to see Webster City support that. To support organization that is looking out for people that need help. And so I wouldn't see it as so much a worry about not getting taxes back on something like that as the more Webster City helping out of the deal.
The people that come and shop at Lowe's, they did comment the other day, have you been to the Morning Glory? So they do spend money in Webster City, they go out to eat, they ask for recommendations. And they come from out of town to shop at Lowe's.
I know my wife and myself, we donate a lot of things to Lotus because we know the cause. And it just, think about it, we all know somebody that's been in a bad situation and you want to help, and that's what Lotus and other places like the Roundhouse and other organizations are for. And I see these buildings downtown falling apart, and it sucks because I've lived here my whole life and I don't want to see that go away, and I want to see more opportunity for businesses to come. But I mean, if you can help out somebody that helps other people without asking for anything in return, that's great. I would love to see money go to Lotus. I would support that and not ever be angry about it. Not even once. I think that
Thank you.
Commission is great.
Thanks for your input there. Thank you.
I think Matt wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, and I'm supportive of looking at, I think we're gonna have to be creative and kind of take it as a case by case. We're gonna have a number of buildings that are already in process and to try to find, and this one is occupied, wants to continue to be occupied. I think John already pointed out, a big point is gonna be how much is it gonna take? If it takes $1 million, then obviously that's gonna be a challenge. Question I had was, so whatever income is generated by the apartments, let's say they put 6 up there, does that go back towards paying off that forgiveness, or does that go to generate additional funds for Lotus to operate the building?
No, I was planning to bring that up. I apologize that I didn't mention that. I think that's a reasonable question for the council to ask. That, should they be rented out, which the intent is that it needs to be, that should be, would you like that to be dedicated to repayment of that loan? And, another question that, we didn't raise is, given this, we are taking some type of an ownership position in it. Do you want more of an ownership position because you're such a sizable benefactor to the project? All of those are reasonable. I think that's your comfort level with what protection the taxpayer needs in this particular arrangement.
Even if it's something like, we know there's other buildings that are gonna have to be addressed, it goes into a set aside fund for that purpose.
Yep.
So.
I'm open to talking with Lotus and asking that they dedicate the rent to the repayment.
Or maybe some
amount,
some percentage of.
Yeah, because it's, don't you house people at the moment? You have places where you house people now.
Like if a woman is trying, or a family member is trying to get it out of a situation, you have homes or rooms they go to
Stay with them.
at Lotus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought, which means this could be another.
Maybe you could use them.
that,
Yeah.
which means they may not be getting rent for it.
Okay.
And I think so. I think the rent part of it really is probably some negotiation you'll be doing in the future on that. I don't think we can go down to that at this stage.
Those apartments are gonna have to have upkeep. And so if they're
Yes, sure.
putting all that rent into
Yeah.
the loan, then where do they, where do they pull from when something needs fixed or?
But I like that idea the mayor had, you know, if you guys use that for some of their housing, you know, that we had local housing. I mean, I'm not trying to determine how you run your organization, but that would be amazing if we had that facility here, because the Lotus facility they use is at Fort Dodge or something, right?
No,
Vincent. Okay.
Mhm.
Very good. But
Churchville.
and as you know, my daughter's favorite store is Lotus Treasures. She sees you like, I'll go, hey, you want to go to Target? She's like, no, let's go to Lotus. All right. So it's a great place, but I think it's a great idea, and I'm open to entertain it. And I think we're looking for a motion tonight to move forward with this, or
You know, I think it would be reasonable to request. I think if we have gathered your intent that you're open to this tool, I think it'd be a reasonable request to ask us to put together estimates for the project to make sure that we can achieve it and then bring it back here for approval.
I agree with that.
need a motion with that, then
Would love it.
yeah, a motion, we get estimates and present them to council.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item N is a resolution accepting and approving acquisition of property generally located at 1308 Wilson Avenue in Webster City, Iowa, Hamilton County.
So this is a property that we did identify as a vacant and abandoned property, so it did go to the court this last week, and the court did deed it to the city, so we're just looking for you guys to accept another property, 1308 Wilson.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Zach, we're over the report.
Yep, so as Ariel just said, you awarded that property last week, so we were in court on that on Monday. Otherwise, we've just been pumping out ordinances as you guys have sat through tonight, so there'll be more coming, so that's all I got.
Anyone else?
Can I mention something real quick?
You want to come up?
Yeah, that's
Say your
great.
name and.
This, I got good late, it's worth. I'm Jonathan Kaufman, I live at 912 Webster. My wife and I would like to take a lot of walks in the trail, we love them. And I noticed recently that there's a substantially nice sized garden down by the water treatment plant. And asking one of the neighbors about it, I said, wow, that's a lovely garden, and he said that belongs to the city manager.
It does.
I'm not here to bash anybody, I just kind of. I'm one of those people that I always want to know, you know, what's going on, and my main concern is with the recent raises, and I understand why we have to raise our utilities and why things go up. Because we need a new water treatment plant, we need updates in Webster City. For example, the buildings downtown need to be updated. I'm just kind of concerned. Who's paying for the water? Is that being pumped straight out of the treatment plant, or is that being paid for? And is there a plan with that? Is that a personal garden? Or is that gonna be sent to the community? Because I can see that if you can have a garden on city property or do something with it, then can I have a piece of city property to do something?
We've actually allowed other people to.
Okay, I just wanna know, that's my main thing is who's paying for the water?
Yeah, I am paying for the water.
Okay, that's all I wanna know. My other thing that I want to mention is that you guys really were fast on cleaning up the two properties recently, and I think that it looks great. Webster City looks a lot better with these properties being taken care of. I myself, I don't like to walk around and see broken down houses, and so kudos to that. Appreciate it. It's making it look better. So that's all I wanted to know. I just kind of wanted to know, like, hey, you know, my water bill's gone up, everybody else has. Is my water bill going up because I'm paying for somebody else's garden? That's what I wanna know.
I don't think he's had to water it much lately.
No, I understand. Hopefully we don't get any more water. It might just overtake the garden.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Call for motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Patrick.